Carry guns have been a hot commodity for quite some time now. Every gun company out there wants to be at the top of the list for the most concealable, best shooting EDC on the market. I remember a time where carrying a gun either meant you had to suck it up and carry a full size or you were a weirdo with a Glock 26. Then flash forward to 2012, Smith & Wesson drops an absolute bombshell, the M&P Shield. Now, of course, there was a few other carry options like the CAR PM9 or the Ruger LCP, but we don't talk about those. Now, the Shield held the carry market for quite some time. That is until 2015, Glock dropped the 43. Little late to the game, but it absolutely took over. A lot of people made the switch and were pretty damn happy with it. That was until about 2018 when SIG dropped the 365.
Mother of God.
Absolutely leaving the 43 in the dust. The Glock tried the 42, the 43, the 43X, the 48, but just simply could not compete with the 365.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
So trying to do a video comparing the two didn't even make sense. They weren't even on the same playing field. At least that was until now. Radian just dropped a new afterburner ramjet for the 43, and it made this thing good. So good that I think it is now on the same playing field as the 365. So today on PewView, we are putting these things head to head to see if SIG is still the undefeated champ or if the 43 is going to make a comeback. So we got relatively the same setup. This right here is a 365 macro. We just got the Vortex Defender on this thing, which I absolutely am not a giant fan of. We'll get to that a little bit later. This also has the ramjet and the Radian backstrap magwell. Same thing with this. We got the Vortex Defender, Radian ramjet, and the Radian magwell. One's running a light, one is not. That is just simply because of the holsters I could find laying around, so we're gonna make do. Well, let's go ahead and shoot this with and without the ramjet, just so I can show you guys why I think this is not on the same playing field. This made such a big difference. And full disclosure, before this thing came out, I've owned the 42, I've owned the 43, the 43X, and the 48. I traded all them son of a in because I did not see it as a viable option for me to carry. These things are slippery. It's got a frickin' 10-round magazine. It's got plastic sights. But luckily, instead of the 10-round mag, Shield, it does offer these. They are a steel option that hold 15, so a little bit better, but still not as good as the stock 17-round mag that comes with the SIG macros. For the same price, a little bit more, a little bit cheaper, there's a lot of options that beat the hell out of this. There's not a lot of options that beat this. The 365 macro, the 365 in general, is probably one of, if not the best carry option on the market for the majority of people. I really do think this ramjet is going to make that big of a difference, and with the aftermarket options for a Glock in general, I think that you can get this thing pretty damn close, if not better, than the 365, but let's go ahead and find out. Before we get started, we need to thank today's sponsor, TacPack. That was a good TacPack. TacPack. TacPack is a monthly subscription service that sends you tactical gear to your house every single month. These things are full of awesome stuff, like this Gerber multi-tool right here, new charging handle for your AR, new grip for your AR, some patches, some stickers, a new rail for your AR. I'm building a whole new AR with this TacPack. Some sticky targets, more stickers. We got a range bag in here, nice grip to go on your new rail, a Mantis dry fire system, and a Rats tourniquet. TacPack has two main tiers. They have the standard and the plus. The standard is going to cost you $59.95 ship. The value inside of the box is going to be anywhere from $90 to $120. TacPack Plus is going to cost you $139.95 ship, but that value is anywhere in between $240 to $300. So you're always getting more than what you're paying for, and new subscribers that use code PEW are also going to get a free box of EDC gear worth about $60, bringing your total to about $330. So if you guys are interested in a tactical Christmas once a month, hit the link in the description below and be sure to use code PEW. Let's get back to it. We got the regular barrel in here right now. Now I don't have this thing sighted in, so we're just gonna do like into the dirt 10 rounds so you guys can see the muzzle flip, and then we'll put the other barrel in it and go from there. I'm gonna try my best to not be biased in this. I do not like the 43, the 43X. I really like the SIG 365, but it's not about me. It's about you guys, the buyers. So I'm gonna try to be as fair as I can possibly be when comparing these. Future reference, the 365 is better. Let's get a couple mags through this with a regular barrel. We'll switch over to slow motion, and then I'll put the ramjet in it and do a side-by-side so you guys can see how much this actually reduced the recoil. It's kind of mind-blowing. So I'm not even going to do a comparison with and without the ramjet for the 365. I have a lot of videos on that thing, and yeah, you can go click right here and watch that if you guys want to. But needless to say, it does make a huge difference. Now the 365 recoil impulse stock versus stock feels a hell of a lot better than the Glock does, but with that ramjet, I'd say they're pretty comparable. I'll just go ahead and put the 365 up in slow motion again and do the same lines just so you guys can see how that stacks up with the ramjet. All right, of course, to kick this test off, we're gonna start with the build drill. I got the 43X on me. New holster, new gun, stock trigger. 177. 167. Switch over to the 365 and see how it compares. All right, 365. That was 6. 173, so pretty damn close. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say it. The trigger's better, the grip's better, the recoil is better. That was 7. 6 was at 172. I think I got a faster one with the Glock. Now I have a hell of a lot more rounds on a 365 because I did a whole build series with 365s. So I got pretty used to these over the last couple years, but I did grow up on a Glock. So I'm kind of used to that angle. Pulling it out and getting it on target is a little bit quicker for me. Maybe we should find that out. One shot on target from concealment, see which one is the faster to the target. Why? What's the point of this? For the audience. Because they're different holsters, they're different grip angles, they're different grips. What's the point?
Which one's faster? Which grip angle's better?
I think it's the grip angle is what we're going for. I think that's the goal. I think the grip angle is going to be slower or faster depending on the thickness of the grip, the grippiness of the grip, the angle of the dangle. There's something here. There's something to be learned here. You ready? 81. We're just not going to talk about that. 78. 82. 84. So I'm noticing with the Glock 43, it's a little bit harder to gain control out of concealment than the 365. I'm not saying it's hard, it's pretty easy. Like the grip is comfortable, especially with that mag wheel, tucking that pinky in there. It feels all right, it's just not as natural to grab and point as the 365. So obviously both of these barrels are made by Radian. They should be relatively the same when it comes to grouping and accuracy, but what's gonna make the difference is the triggers. It's the break, the squish, the over travel, the reset. That is what makes a gun group well. The lighter the trigger, for me personally, the better the group is. So for like 2011s and stuff, you just, get a good little groupie poo out of them. Good old state-of-the-art targets right here. A few shots each, 7 yards, just to see if the shitty Glock trigger is gonna hold up to the okay 365 trigger. Glock up first. Again, not a fan of these red dots. They're very glitchy, and I can see the entire emitter. I can see a square emitter box. This one is a 6 MOA, and that one I believe is 3. So I'm gonna have a slight advantage with this, but we're pretty close. Shouldn't make that big of a difference. I've had a bug crawling on the back of my neck this whole fucking time. It's very distracting. All right, 365. Honestly, it didn't feel that much different. This one started to open up a little bit as I sped up, but slowing down, I was keeping them kind of in the same spot. This is me kind of speeding up. Same thing over here. I think the Glock was a little bit tighter. Honestly, Glock triggers suck. They're squishy. They got a weird reset. They're a little bit heavy, but you do hit a nice wall, and then you got a nice roll to break it. They're not that bad, especially if you train them. With a 365, I feel like you got a nice roll throughout the whole thing. So I guess that's a personal preference. Like, if you grew up on Glock, Dalton hates the 365 trigger. So Dalton, right here is your typical Glock fanboy, wouldn't you say?
I don't care about your question.
So your preference on trigger is the Glock. What's your opinion of the 365 trigger?
I hate the.
You're wrong.
I hate the 365 trigger because I don't like this take up, and then there's over travel, and I've never really I got used to a Glock trigger because when we started out, Nick was like, Glock 19 never fails. Just learn how to shoot it. You don't suck. Okay, bye. So I did, and I got used to a little bit of take up, firm wall, rolling brake. Like, it's what I got used to.
Right, and like I said, it's kind of personal preference. Some people like that roll through with a 365. Some people like to hit that dead wall. For me personally, again, I grew up on a Glock. I don't mind the wall, but right now, shooting a bunch, like 10,000 plus rounds through a 365.
Yeah, there was a lot of rounds through that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not that one, but...
Right. But now, this is my preference. I prefer this trigger. I can go a little bit faster, and I think that's our next test. Stock trigger versus stock trigger. Now, I will say with the Glock, the better thing about this is the fact that you got aftermarket options. If you don't like the trigger, you can get flat face, curved, oval, boob-shaped. Glocks make a lot of aftermarket triggers. As far as options for the 365 triggers, too fucking bad. You can get a different shoe, but that is your serialized part, and you can't really change that. All right, going for some split times here. I'm really bad with a stock trigger, I'm not gonna lie. Other than a Type B, which is the best striker fire on the market, by the way, just thought I'd throw that out there. Pretty hard to go fast with a striker fire. Little jammy poo in there, Glock stuff. Now, to be fair, them all have been with the shield mags. That's probably more to do with it than the actual Glock, but 16, 15, 14, 15. So 15, 16 is probably the average with the Glock. Let's try the old 365. 13, 14, 15. I'm faster with a 365. I think I already knew that, Dalton. How about you?
All right, Glock first.
21, 22, 22, 21. You're pretty consistent, right around 20.
That's my average split, like, even with my gun or most guns.
Give me more. You had an 18 and a 19 in there, so you were slightly faster with a 365, but your average is still around 2021. All right, I just want to kind of fuck around a little bit. I'm going to double tap 3 of the big ones just so we can do a little transition testing. I got the 43 on right now on the timer. You know what? I'm switching from 365 to Glock, and then I got to fuck with that angle because like a Glock, I got to dip down, right, which typically I'm pretty used to that. But when I'm shooting a 365 and I can get that 1911 point, which is much more natural, it's just more better. All right, 365. It just feels so much
faster.
better.
I can see it.
My grip feels better. The trigger feels better. It's just. All right, I'd say the 365 definitely. It got that one. The trigger is a little bit easier to manipulate. The grip is better. Now, as far as recoil management, kind of the point of this video, the Radian Ramjet, it certainly is about equal when it comes to muzzle flip. It feels identical, but the grip is so much better on this one. It's a little bit easier to hold on to and kind of, you know, get a more tighter grip. So the felt recoil feels a little bit better with the 365. Muzzle flip, about the same, but let's do the ultimate test, the reliability test. We're gonna sink these bitches in mud and see which one is actually gonna run, because all the Glock fanboys will tell you that that is the AK-47 of pistols. Ain't that right, buddy?
Well, I have a list of excuses on why that Glock goes first.
We're gonna find out. All right, so we're gonna do final conclusion before I get these things absolutely filthy, and then they won't be able to shoot anymore, and you won't be able to see the talking points here. So I'd say final conclusion, in my opinion, again, I'm trying my best to not be biased. The 365 is taking it because the grip is better. The trigger's better. Just the recoil impulse, the shootability, the point to these things. It's more 1911. The Glock is kind of, you know, at the ground. It's just got a weird point. Now that being said, I think this is a very good option with this ramjet. This completely changed the game of the Glock 43, and that is by far, it's not even fucking close. With this stock barrel and with this ramjet, night and day difference.
I hated the 43 until 3 hours ago.
Yeah, like I will put this in my carry rotation. It is that good. I like this gun. I would trust it. I think if, God forbid, you got in a gunfight, this is a decent option. I would trust my life to this thing. Now, that being said, did have quite a few malfunction with the shield mags. And unfortunately, their polymer mags are only 10 rounds. So that kind of knocks me down a little bit on the would I carry this or not. I want more capacity in my magazine, which is why this has been one of the most popular carry guns since 2021.
Yeah,
this has been top of the list for the last 4 or 5 years.
As long as they've been out.
Except that one time in 2022 when the 320 shot to the top of the list for some fucking reason, the military. Everybody's like, oh, it's military grade now. Let me buy one of them. They suck and you know it. That's why it's still sitting in your gun safe. But also, that being said, the 365 was still a close number 2. So if it wasn't for the military adopting it, it would have been the top pistol of 2022. So, Mr. Glock fanboy, I'm sure you're going to choose this one, but why?
The Glock point I'm used to. So from thick 19 to thin 43X, I'm going to, like, it's natural. I'm going to pick it up, point it the same every time. I actually, when I was doing splits, I was trying to find the dot. I couldn't find the dot in the 365. This I could pick up right away. So the compatibility of, like, they're the same gun but different, you know? And, you know, Glock fanboy, you got to go with Glock reliability, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so he's going Glock because he's biased. Got it.
But I'm picking this one today because just changing out for the ramjet absolutely changed the 43X. I did not like this gun. I would tell people to buy a 365 because
100%.
The recoil impulse of this is super snappy.
It felt like a subcompact 40.
Yeah,
and now it feels like a nice flat shooting 9mm
right.
pistol.
There was no benefit to buying a 43X compared to a 365. You got the macro, it's 17 rounds, and the recoil impulse was better. Why buy this gun?
All right, so it's getting dark out here. Let's go dunk these bitches in mud and see which one is going to get up. All right, so we're going to go with some murky-ass water first, and then we'll stir up some mud. But this is some very sandy, rocky shit. 365. This shouldn't have an issue. Now, this is very gritty. One malfunction, but that made it pretty damn far throughout the mag. Okay, Glock. Again, just gritty water, shouldn't have an issue. Fuck! Alright, let's load these bitches back up and get more muddy. This already feels really gritty, but yeah. Alright, kind of cleared off. Alright, and that's nice and muddy now. Schnozberries taste like schnozberries. Alright, I'd say that one's pretty dead. Okay, Glock. It just barely caught that. Alright, so I'd say Glock got that. They both failed. The Glock just failed a little bit less. And if I'm
starting to.
Yeah, if I'm gonna single feed it, that would keep me in a gunfight. This thing, yeah. So they're both kind of keeping you in. The Glock just a little bit better. I'm gonna go shower. I am filthy. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think of this comparison down in the comments below and which one you prefer. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.